It's not so find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Carol Ann Cooper and Shireen Lovegrove. How are you, ladies?
Wonderful, Nomsa. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to have you guys here today. Something for a change, me being on my own.
Mhm.
So, our topic today is breaking the burnout cycle. It's not about self-care. It's it's not just about self-care. So,
Mhm.
Carol Ann,
Mhm.
you chose this topic. Would you like to explain the topic to the audience, or do you want me to crack on?
It's a good question.
Ah,
Go for
I
it.
know you.
Go
I
for
know
it.
you
Yeah,
chose the
I know I
topic.
chose it. Go for it. You, if you want to crack on, I can bring in why I chose it or just the background. It's fine. Go for it, girl.
So breaking the cycle of burnout is very essential for maintaining mentally and physically well-being. While self-care plays a crucial role, it is not the only factor. So today we're going to share some strategies to break the burnout cycle. And please, guys, do get involved. If you are watching us from LinkedIn, do get involved. If you're watching us from Facebook or Twitter, please do get involved. We like our audience to get involved. Over to you, Carol Ann. We just want to find out what was the motivation be, be when you chose this topic behind
mm,
everything. I know when somebody chooses a topic, that means that there's a story behind it. So what
Mhm.
was yours?
Um, I just happened to see it, and I just thought when I saw that it's not just about self-care. That there is a cycle, and for me, I didn't even realize I'd gone through burnout until
mm,
after I got out the other side. It's like I hadn't even heard of the expression.
mm.
I was just in it and deeply in it. And as I say, it wasn't until I started to come out the other side and I started hearing that term and I was thinking, well, that's actually what I went through.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to realize that what the signs are, so perhaps you can wake up, because that's one of the key things is waking up to potential burnout and actually realizing it's not just about self-care. There is much more to it.
Yeah.
Um, because yes, it's looking after yourself, but it's not just about having a spa now and again or
Mm.
um, just indulging in a day of pampering. It's more about how you're living, your relationships, your mindset, um, how what's happening in the workplace. There's a whole host of things that
Mm.
come together to form this, and everybody is different. So it's actually being able to wake up to what is going on and what are these um, the signs. So yeah, I saw a lovely phrase. It's not simply solved by bubble baths and spa days. And yes, they're great. They can it's they can support in some way, but they are not the ultimate solution. There's a lot more other things that that can support. So yeah, Shireen, what are you when you saw this topic and you're listening?
Yeah. It blew me a little bit in a
Yeah.
way because I thought, oh, not self-care. Right. We talk about
Mm.
self-care all the time. And yes, it's a primary ingredient, but I then kind of started to go in, what is burnout, right? What
Mm.
what is it at its core? And really, at its core is we've got no more energy to be able to do anything, right? So, like you said,
Mm.
I didn't know I'd gone through burnout until I'd come through it. It's because you were in that survival mode, weren't you? And you were
Mm.
just literally needing to withdraw so that you could somehow find a way that you could have enough resources, an internal resource in some way, which, whether it's energy, whether it's from food, whether it's energy from walking, whether it's energy from resilience in sort of a mental mindset, but you needed something before you could move out of the state of where there's nothing. There's almost nothing to be able to keep you in that good place. And we would, if from a frequency place, we would say you have very low frequency. You literally have nothing. So burnout is when we've actually at that place where we've gone below the threshold of real existence. We're below the threshold where we would not be able to now fight things if we needed to. And it's no misnomer that 2 years after a divorce, after moving house, after children leaving you, and they're making a new career, that people get cancer. There's a direct relationship between that. And that's because of the stress we put on ourselves, that we actually are burning out. And we have nothing. Our protectors are not awake because they've also burned out. So I think it's a really important thing to really pay attention to that. And then I suppose what came then next to me was this idea of what you were talking about. It's not just about us. It's about the wider system. So there's burnout. There's a collective burnout, right? Mm. And I think collective burnout, when we think of COVID, there was that burnout where we didn't have resilience anymore. And we kind of, at the first part, I mean, a lot of us went onto Zoom and there was this explosion of doing activity, but slowly over time, it started to take its toll. And a lot of people now are suffering because they have long COVID, right? So their burnout was really deep. But also, I think there's a burnout where we have too much information. And we then start to no longer listen to things. So we might have so much stuff on health and well-being, but because we're bombarded, we burn out. We can't hear anymore. And so often we end up not following real sort of strategies that would help us. So there's that's that systemic burnout, which we can have in companies, we can have in schools. So there's academic burnout. There is a country burnout, literally where a country's on its knees and it doesn't know what to do next. And I think a lot of countries are actually in a state of burnout, and people are in the state of burnout where they are unable to really move forward. So those were kind of the things that I was kind of thinking about, and then thinking about what are the steps that we will need to take. And it is a very systemic thing, not just about self-care. It is about something else. And maybe that's something, when after we've kind of had a discussion, what are we going to do? How can we help people? How do we individually help people? And what's the science behind that?
Yeah. And I think probably initially it's important to recognize the signs.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you can't, get those red flags, as I call them, I love that phrase. It was a phrase that was used in an Enneagram course that I went on some training many years ago, and they talked about red flags. That's a red flag. And it's just literally, there are signs, there are signals, and we tend to ignore them. Yeah. And the problem is that's why it then gets worse, because you ignore the signs and whatever's going on. So it's understanding, it's just recognizing that then there's many signs. Yeah. There's emotional ones, there's cognitive ones, there's behavioral changes that go about. There's also work-related signs. And there's relationship, interpersonal signs, what's happening in relationships. So, it's like, are you getting a little bit more irritable than normal? And sometimes we get a bit more irritable than normal, but we don't go, oh, and stop. We just maybe think, oh, I am feeling a bit more irritable, or someone might say something, we are a bit more irritable, but we dismiss it because it's only maybe just that fraction. It's when it's just that fraction that you want to go, stop. What's been said here, is this the truth, or what's going on here? Maybe it's just something in that moment, and it's okay, and it might not be a signal towards burnout, but it's important because it could carry you all the way to burnout. And it's just a sign that something is not working in that moment. And that's caused, so it's like, well, okay, so what's causing someone to say I'm more irritable than normal? Rather than go, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, and deny it or just shrug it off as, oh, well, it's just what it is for now. It's stop, breathe, and listen. So listening is not just about listening to your body. It's listening to what other people might be saying to you, and about you, or, so, yeah, there's many sort of other emotional signs as well. Just that lack of motivation. All of a sudden, just that motivation goes. And you just think, oh, maybe I'm just tired. It's okay, it'll come back. But it's not about shrugging it off, which is what I think most people tend to do. Or I don't know what it reminds me of, actually. I don't know if you've heard the story about the frogs in water in a pot.
Very good one.
That gets slowly heated up. And they don't realize until it's too late, because it's boiling, so it's actually recognizing the signs before and being able to jump out the pot, oh, this is getting a bit hotter. Oh, it's getting a bit hotter. But it just seems to slowly. And I think for us with our life, it's such a busy, fast pace of life that it's that needing to slow down to get those very first signs. So it is recognizing when everything is just getting so frantic, and sort of think, is there any signs here that I'm missing? Maybe am I sort of in that pot, slowly sort of cooking and not realizing it? And I know it's not a very nice picture, but it's the truth. The frogs don't know. They just stay there because they not aware. So it's just recognizing, and things to do with work, your behavior, what's happening with your relationships. Is there anything else more you'd like to add in there? Because I know there are other things. And Namsa or Shreen?
Yeah, you have to be aware, like you ladies say, that you have to be aware of your body, because your body tells you that enough is enough. I need to rest. I always listen to my body, no matter how busy I am. If my body says stop, I stop. Otherwise, because if you don't listen to your body, then you end up with the healthy problems, and that's not good. And also, you got to understand as well, look at it when you identify the root cause of the problem, and then you understand what is the cause of it. And it could be like Carol Ann say, or Sharon said, it could be excessive workload, or it could be lack of autonomy. It could be toxic work as well. It does cause that environment. If the environment is not right, it can cause that, or it could be like a personal issue or combination of factors that may cause that. So you just have to identify it. For me, what I've realized is if you are in a toxic environment, it makes things worse. So I don't stay. If I'm in a toxic environment, I move myself straight away. And I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get uh, different things. So I just move away. Or if I see that, I monitor my sleep as well. When I feel like I only sleep for 4 hours anyway. I don't sleep too much. I go to bed at 4. I go to bed at 1. Then I wake up at 6. So yeah, I don't sleep too much. It was 2 o'clock sometimes. It's either 1 if I'm lucky, or sometimes at 2. But I try not to sleep too much so my body get used to it. But if I feel tired, everybody knows in the house I don't mess about. I go to sleep if I'm feel that my body's really, really, really need a rest. But some people, they'll go on and on and on and on and hoping for the best. but how can you hope for the best for your body? So it's very, very important, ladies. What you're saying is 100% right. Just like Carol Ann is saying, you were not aware that you were like burning yourself out. And so the result of burning yourself out is going cuckoo. You go cuckoo, and then you end up with depression. The doc who got to say, Doc, things are not good, and doctor will be happy to prescribe medication, and it's no good. Over to you, Shireen or Carol Ann.
Yeah, I was thinking more in the sense while I was listening to you talking about sleep, and sleep is such an important component, right? I know you say you don't sleep very much, or you're trying to get used to not having sleep.
Apparently, it's lazy. Sleeping more than 5 hours is lazy.
I think all the evidence might suggest that we need the 7 hours. But if you're doing meditation and you're doing that throughout your day, then you're doing something that's putting you into that default network of sleep. So then you can be awake. And so therefore, it's really important that we clarify for people that if you're doing the kinds of things that allow you to be able to have less sleep, you've got to balance it somewhere. And your brain does need these rest phases. And we go through different cycles during sleep. And often when we omit a certain amount of sleep, we lose out in our REM sleep, which is the processing part of our sleep. So that's the one, but we can do that through meditation too, right? We can do meditation and do REM. And so we can top up the balance there. So I think it's really important that we be very clear on that. But most people, if you can sleep, if you're going to do that, make sure that you're always going to be protecting of your brain, because nothing works if your brain's not working. I can honestly tell you that. So the thing that I really was also thinking about there, which was something that you were saying about the toxic environment, right? And I think, we live in this busy world, which Carol Ann, you were kind of saying, but it's a busy world that's heightened with expectation, right? It's a busy world where we're living mainly in lack. We're living in lack because we're constantly chasing. And we're also not safe because most jobs have, a lot of businesses have the agenda that is not necessarily nourishing. It has an agenda that is about the bottom line as we make money. And so therefore, they don't necessarily always invest in their people enough. So that's a very toxic environment too. But what happens is in all kinds of environments is we've got to, there's got to be space where we have clean air, where we have space to exercise, where people have space to eat healthy food. And I think in our lifestyle, I've been writing a lot about sugar and a lot about glucose and a lot about non-gluten sensitivity and celiac disease. I've been doing quite a lot of that because it affects my pregnant ladies a lot. But it also affects all of us as a population, right? So we're not eating the kinds of foods that are helping us. And so that's also something we need to be thinking about building our body in a very healthy way. But I'm also really aware there are things like, gifted kids burnout. And it's all based on people with ADHD. Those kids all are incredibly stressed because there's high expectations, high need for perfectionism, high need for performing and overperforming, so they don't sleep very well. And yeah, I think in the sense of work-wise with toxic environments, there's this expectation that really runs with it, which causes all of us to live in that heightened state. So really, if you're noticing that you're in this kind of thing, those red flags, which are so important, if you're not, and your red flag key is, I'm not happy, Right. That's the biggest red flag key. I'm not happy. I feel I'm being made small. I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. If it's not good, it's a big, big, big red flag, and we must do something about it, right? We
Yeah.
need to stop and really reassess. And it is, how do we reassess within the system, right? How do we reassess within ourselves? And how do we reassess within our relationships? Because all of those are going to require you to do something else. They're going to require you to take action on some level so that the company takes action. So does your relationship. It may just be simply having to have a good, honest conversation. But how do you navigate that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all really important things. And I think it's so important to think, yes, it's not about just self-care, but it is a greater level of self-care. So how do we do self-care? Like if we're in a job, how do we make sure that we leave work on time, right? How do we develop a different culture within our job that allows us to see it's okay to make mistakes, right?
Mm.
Even little things like having positive self-talk or being able to acknowledge the pain that someone has, particularly, if they are disappointed, can we acknowledge that? Can we sit with that? Can we hold that? All of these kinds of things, which are so, so very important. Can we express ourselves?
Very important. Being able to express yourself, absolutely. And it is that setting the your boundary of being and learning to be able to say no when your plate is full.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just eating when your plate is full and saying, oh, I've had enough, because I've recognized that as I used to have to finish my plate, and then I got to a point where no, it's okay to leave something on my plate, or I started taking smaller portions, but that's sort of getting over that. I've got to keep eating, but it's the same with your workload or what life is throwing at you, and those expectations. It's being able to say, no, I've got enough jobs on right now, and learning to be able to just delegate or have a discussion, with someone, with your boss or with people you're working with. And it's about being honest about what's going on for you, and know that that is not a sign of weakness. You don't have to struggle on your own and get this done. It's like, I'm okay. No. The strength is in actually discussing it with somebody else and asking for support, and asking for help, and being able to delegate. Because I remember that's what I was doing at teaching. I wasn't delegating. I was just taking it all on, doing more and more work, and I didn't recognize the signs at all. And it wasn't until the universe decided, okay, enough, and had me off ill for a year. I literally could not walk. I had my knee blow up like a balloon, my ankle, head, neck, and shoulders were locked tight, and that was it. And it took a long time to sort of come around or sort of move again. It was over a year, and even then I wasn't fully energized. But I've been keeping going, and even when people said, "Oh, you've got too much on your plate," it's like, no, I haven't. I don't like being told. I didn't like being told. It's just stop. It's okay to say, yes, I have got too much on my plate. And I realized that's what I could have done, but I didn't then. Now it's different. It's like, if I'm tired or think I've got too much, I'm just taking things steady. And even if when I find myself comparing myself to other people who are, oh gosh, they're busy, they're getting on, and I'm going, no, I've been there. I refuse to be drawn into that again. I am just ticking over, and I am taking my time. And if I miss opportunities, I miss opportunities, because actually then they're not the opportunity for me. I recognize that an opportunity will come that I can take, and I will take it at the time. and it will all fit in beautifully. So I've slowed down so much more, and especially after last year as well. But what it's important to do is, because I realized that last year I'd taken myself to that point of where I got to, where I did end up in hospital. And it's going to what's going on at a deeper level that has you continue actions that you know are no longer good for you, or that are actually destroying you in some way. And being able to find that deeper, what is actually going on. And it wasn't until I actually got in touch with that part of me last year that was going, I don't think anybody cares. Nobody cares. There's no point carrying on. I don't want to be alive. I don't even love myself. I finally got to that point of understanding and hearing it. And then I was able to do something about it and do a process around that so that it changed. I was like, yes, I do want to live. I am I do love myself. And it all stems from loving myself. So you really have to recognize, are you loving yourself? Because if you're not, then all of these other things will happen and you will arrive at burnout. So I think that's one of the key things, is to go in and say, do I love myself? And if not, why not? What is it? What's the root cause of that? And transform it. Because once you start really loving yourself and going, yes, I want to live, and I am worthy of an exciting life, an energizing life. That's when things can change, because that's when you can really go, okay, I can set that boundary and say, no, I've got enough on. And if people don't like it, then that's their problem, because you need to recognize when you're made to feel guilty. And again, that's something else to go in deeper. Well, where's that guilt coming from? So it's always going back into the self. What is there that's causing this behavior? But it is that standing up, setting those boundaries, and being able to say, no, I've got enough on. But it's not just saying no and that's it. It's saying, like, how can we manage this so that I can lighten the load? It's, as Shireen was saying, it's having a conversation, talking about it with the people that can actually do something about it. It's not gossiping and, moaning to someone else who's got no power to do anything. It's actually about talking to somebody who can do something and help you change things. And that was actually something I learned about. I hadn't actually thought about that before, but it was when I used to assist at the company called Landmark. They do a lot of personal development events, and they have people support them by assisting the sessions or the courses. And I often used to hear and say to people, look, don't moan about it. Don't sit and talk to somebody that can't help you. Go and talk to someone that can actually do something about it and move the whole thing forward. And it's like, oh, and I heard that several times before it really sort of sank in and totally made sense, or something I feel I could take on board. So yeah, who can you talk to that can actually affect change, that is it's not going to end up as a gossip and a moan and a groan, but it's actually just a laying out what is happening. I can't deal with all of this. It's too much for me. How can we, who can I delegate it to? How can we change it? Or is there any deadlines I can change? Or, talk to somebody that can actually support you in doing that. So yeah, there's some key things there. But I heard what you were saying about the gifted children. Oh, bless them. The expectations that are put on them. Just because they're gifted, and they just seem to think, I'll give them more and more to do. And it's like, no, and eventually it just gets too much. It is about having that balance. And it's not just about the academic, because I think they tend to get pushed on with more academic things to achieve, rather than, okay, getting that total balance.
Yeah.
Like the what is it, the multiple intelligences. So is there an aspect of each of those intelligences that's actually being worked on, not just the one's thing, So yeah, it's
yeah. And I think that often we don't think about, we often think when people are are kind of withdrawing, or they are feeling a little bit apathic, or you may see kids just laying around, and you might think they're being bloody lazy, but they're not.
No.
Maybe it has more to do with what expectations are being placed upon them. And maybe too, they're also not eating the right foods. So we've got this thing, everything's going on, but we have to start to ask the question, why is my child, if they're kind of irritable, if they're doing what they're doing, if this is going on, will this potentially lead to them being in burnout? And kids do get burnout. I know it sounds crazy that they would. I mean, I also can't believe that they can, but they can because of the kind of world we're living in now. And it's very, very hard for a lot of kids in this world. And I think we've got to find a way to be able to help them be resilient so that they can navigate this whole minefield in a different way.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm really absolutely, what is a real truth is that we have, we always talk about that we have the devil and the angel, or we have the wolf, the two wolves, the black and the white wolf. Now, most of the time when we are okay, the white wolf is there. The white wolf guides us. The white wolf will say to us, let's make a plan. Let's go and talk to this person. Let's see if we can organize our day better so that we can give ourselves enough rest and give everybody around me enough rest. I can maybe respond differently, right? That's the white wolf, or our best higher self in a guide, whichever. But the more we're depleted, this dark wolf kicks up, right? Because it gets more power, right? We are programmed to see negative because we don't survive if we don't see the negative. We need to see it. So our brain is programmed for that. But on the average, if we have strengthened our white wolf or inner guidance, then that part doesn't really get to play it around. It's going to be there, and we can use it then as a form of discernment, right? We can say, oh, that shouldn't have happened, but it did. Okay, what went wrong, right? And you'll be able to step back and look at it and by doing that, we're able to then at least find a way to resolve it in a way that will help you be healthy and everybody around you. So it's really important to kind of understand that. So if we want to keep building that, if we want to have greater resilience and not have burnout, we've got to focus on building that inner core, that inner resilience, that wise advisor that we have, and learn to listen to it, right? There's all, and we can call that wise advisor God. We can call that wise advisor anybody, because I do believe we are God incarnated. So therefore, when we hear that voice is the voice of our truth. And that's what we've got to learn to connect to and to communicate with. And I know, Nomsa, you do a lot of that, right? And it helps you manage and connect and shift the paradigms for you.
Oh yeah, God tells me that I'm lazy. I used to sleep 8 hours. It's 8 hours sleeping. Are you kidding me? People are creating dreams and you're sleeping. But I have to create it in a good way. Carol Ann and Sheree, you know, when you say we are constantly chasing and we have these expectations and we don't eat properly. I had to tell Carol Ann not to skip breakfast because she was skipping. Honestly, she comes at Ngozi talk show. She goes, I've not had breakfast. I was like, you don't come here to Ngozi talk shows without having breakfast. I can do anything, guys, but I love my food. I fast. I'm good with that. But when it's time to eat, it's time to eat. When it's time to take vitamins, I make sure that I look after my body. And also, I this website business where you have the company, you employ people, it ain't for me. Because when I started, I began with Desmond O'Connor, with Des. He takes everything, the company, he takes the whole thing, the company, you just have to coach the clients and do the work. He does everything. So I wasn't used to that thing. And then money ran out. I couldn't afford the coach to pay that big money. I couldn't afford to pay him, obviously, for a few months. And I'm not used to, and I tried the business of building this website on my own. I was like, is this what people have to go through? And I was like, I ain't doing that. And that's why I went to Sai. I ain't doing that. Sai does the same thing that Des do. So it like, because I won his coaching, so that means he gets to look after everything. Now the website is being built. All I have to do, Shireen, is to tell them my voice, the words, how I speak. And then they do the research, they do the content, and that's what Daisy did. But with this website that is live, I had to do the content and the web designer in listening to me and all these things that goes with it. And I was like, I ain't doing this again. I don't want to be burnt out. And that's why I was like, it is very expensive to actually hire a coach that takes everything, look after everything, marketing and everything, but it's stress free. When you're running a business, is so much free, so much freedom. All you have to do is just make sure that things they understand your voice, what you want. You got to know what you want. That's all. And that's why, and I've stopped chasing things. You see, the good things with God, Shireen and Carol Ida, when you pray and fast, the good thing is when you're chasing and chasing God, it tells you to stop. And then stop, because the minute you stop is where you get creative. But if you are somebody who keeps going and going and going, no celebrating nothing, no stopping nothing, where do you get time for creativity? So you have to do things, and you have to do the chasing, and then you've got to have time to stop. You've got to have time, like me time, like go and lie down on the bed for 20 minutes doing nothing. When I mean nothing, nothing, and just in the silence. That's where the mind get to regroup, and then you get to get creative. So that's what I love about my life right now, that I don't have to keep chasing and chasing. And I can see the attitude, even church people are like, Nomsa, you've gone. I don't know what's happened, but I like these norms. I'm like, well, just taking things very easy. I know that I don't have to, like, if I'm getting creative, I get creative, I get to do things. So it's very, very important for those who are watching. It's not about working long hours. It's just that just looking at what works, what is working in your environment, and just having the right people around you, and just getting on with work when work needs to be done, and let people do the work and share the work with people. And that's what I do. And just fasting and praying, it has helped me. When I get stuck with something, it means God tells me off and say, Nomsa, will you just stop? Just it's time for you to like listen, stop and listen. Because like sometimes some people say, okay, I have to pray, I got to speak all the time. So there's a time for speaking, there's a time for listening now. When you speak to the universe, if you really, really want to be creative, you speak, you get time to listen, you avoid burnout, because that's where you get direction. And direction may be something that will take you 1 week thinking, you get it within a minute. Like if you're willing to stop And then that person God will direct you to the right direction. And if God says go to Tesco, I'm like, I don't need to go to no shopping. Why do I need to go to Tesco? No, so go to Tesco. Then that means my helper, I'm going to meet my helper at Tesco car park. That means I'm going to meet somebody I've not seen for a very long time. And that person is carrying a valuable information that I need. So that means I got to drive to Tesco and just get out of the car and get into Tesco's, and then I meet my helper. That's how it works. That's how the universe God works. So I like it when you say have a space, and also it's not good for us when we don't do things that work for us, and we think that life is a competition. Everyone thinks we have to compete. Yesterday, Carol Anna was sitting here, and when my pastor was talking, I was like, actually, God is right. I don't have to compete with nobody. My business is unique. Of course, I've got competitions. I got to serve my clients 100%. I got to make sure my branding is 100%. But I don't have to compete to nobody. I got to find my own voice as well. So I was like, when he was speaking, I was like, actually, he's right. That's why I put that post that I posted yesterday. I was like, you don't need to compete with no one. Life is not a competition. Because I was like, I listened to everybody, was like, you got to look at your competitors. And then Gary says, you got to go through your destiny, and you got to speak your own voice. That voice makes you unique and as an individual, and not burning yourself out. Over to you, ladies.
I know what you're saying about life is not a competition. And I think that's where this shift is happening. And because it is about that, you're competing all the time to do the best and to keep working to prove that you're up to it, and you're competing with other people, but it's all in your head. But it's the same as we're saying with like businesses. They have another agenda. They're constantly making you to work because they want the money. It's the financial side. With schools and teachers, I mean, that horrendous in there. It's constantly, it's the results. What results are the children getting? So there's always that pressure. There is never that slowing down and looking and celebrating. There was never a well done. Oh gosh, you've done this. It's like, right, what's next? You haven't done this and you haven't done that, and it's poor. And where you at? These children haven't got these grades. What are you going to do to make sure they get these? And it's like, what about the achievements that they have got, and just allowing them to take it at their own pace? So yes, certainly, I've forgotten what you were saying where I sort of went with this.
Well, I mean, what came up for me, Namsa, while he was talking, and again, a little bit about this idea, when I was saying teachers get stressed because there's expectations, and the kids get stressed, the parents get stressed, because we're living in this world that believes that we have to be doing, right? And we have to have this standard of living and this thing and this, that, and we're ever chasing. We're ever chasing, and we don't have enough, right? We're living in not enough, and that's a problem. But like Nomsa, you said something which is really so important, and that is, if you love what you do, become an expert in what you do. Nobody is like you, right? And what will happen is, as you love what you do, you are bringing it from the whole harmony of yourself. And that means you will make and draw the connections you need to have, and the money will follow. I think when we've got it the wrong way around. We're chasing money in order to survive, but we're not chasing happiness. People are chasing happiness, yes, in drugs to get away from things, but they're not truly chasing happiness because they don't know how to be happy, how to connect, how to say, hey, I'm so excited by what I do, right? I just can't wait to get back to work. I can't wait to do this. It's absolutely true. You know, Aristotle, the great eureka moment, guess what? That was when he discovered density, right? We create in those moments when we go into that default network, those moments of quietness, those moments of where our mind is just kind of chilling, right? And where we're actually, you know, you may be thinking of a wonderful song and, oh my God, an idea jumps up because you're happy. You're in the enoughness. And the enoughness is so big, so expansive, that things just fall in because you are expanding to receive. And I think that's the fault. We're living with the lie that we have got to rush. In actual fact, the slowing down is not really slowing down. We're actually, if you think about gravitational pull in space, it is so fast, but we don't see it. Right? It's ironic. It is massive, and yet we have no experience of it, or we don't feel it. We might see it slightly, but we don't experience it. But we do know it's there. So it's understanding that it may seem slow, but maybe we're going a lot faster. And we'll get to where we want to be a lot faster. So I loved it, Nomsa, when you said that, you know, we are unique and that is there. It's kind of like been something that I've had to focus on for myself, which is really, you know, where I am is unique too, right? And to keep loving that and getting excited about what I'm finding out about that is so, so very important. And how do I bring that? And how do I change the world with that? And when you start thinking, how do I change the world with that? And I'm part of that, then it's a very, very different place. And you don't get stressed. In fact, fuel comes from everywhere. And there's the kind of thing, and I suppose somewhere in the Bible it says something, you can live on light. Literally, because you won't need so much food because you are burning so brightly and so efficiently that you don't need to eat nearly as much. In fact, then there will be so much food over for the rest of the world. Hey, that's a great vision to have.
Absolutely. A lovely vision. And it is about stillness. And that's something that I've learned over the years. And I even now, like this weekend, I've had some processing with I was supporting at Brandon Bays' the Journey Intensive, and it's online, but I was able to get some processing, and there's another level and depth of peace and serenity that came. And I'm constantly going, oh gosh, how much more peace? But it is,
how much more can you have?
How much can you have? And there is more and more that you never really fully understand the amount of tension that's actually in your body or what is stored. There's so much there that can be released. And that it is, I've had that message many times over these last 20 odd years, is the stiller you are, the more you get done. And it's true, because it's in that moment, stillness, it's literally being in the present moment. That all of a sudden, something just happens. You might get an email, might get a phone call, you might just have that conversation. It's like, and you think, oh my goodness, that's what's the word? Synchronistic. But it's because you're in tune, you're in flow. There's a connection. And that's just what happened with the journey work this weekend. A couple of weeks ago, I was just thinking, I think I could do with some journey work, a journey process. And then in pops an email from Claire, who's the logistics manager with the journey, and asking for people, for trainers, to be trainers at the Journey Intensive. And I'm going, okay, yes. Knowing that as a trainer, you also get the opportunity to get a process, but it's also sitting in on that, those teachings. And so I've now, I was there over the weekend, and I just, it was beautiful just to be in that stillness and that quiet and that love and support, and to process as well. But also I had the privilege of being able to process some delegates, and that was just, really an honor to support them in their journey. And what I've also been able to do is there's some more of Brandon's courses coming up, more of her advanced courses that I haven't revisited since I first did them 20 odd years ago. And I'm really looking forward to being a trainer on those now. And it's just all of a sudden that's come up. There's one in May and the next one's in June, so it's here. There's that support that comes. But I've remembered what I was saying. Right? It was the competition. Life's not a competition. That's where I started off.
Yeah.
And it is recognizing that actually it's about collaboration. No, it's not about competing or thinking about, you're competing against your competitors. It's like, who can you collaborate with?
Yeah.
Who can you work with? Who's got the same audience as you, but they provide a different service, but yours is complementary, and you can work together. It's about collaboration. And so how can you collaborate? It's another aspect of, okay, I was talking about delegation, but this is collaboration. Who can you collaborate with? And I think, especially for people that are working on their own, self-employed, people that work at home, it can get lonely, and you take it all on yourself. And again, there's that burnout can happen because you're attempting to do it all. Who can you collaborate with? Who could you work with? And it's just then tapping into their audience that would help you to just find clients. It just happens, but also you supporting them in another way, because they can do the same. You've got an audience that could do with their services as well. So collaboration is beautiful. So looking, I can see the times. There's something I just love to leave people. There's a couple of things. It's burnout occurs when your body and mind can no longer keep up with the tasks you demand of them. Don't try to force yourself to do the impossible. That's by somebody called Del Suggs. But Earl Nightingale said, learn to enjoy every minute of your life. Be happy now. Don't wait for something outside of yourself to make you happy in the future. Think how really precious is the time you have to spend, whether it's at work or with your family. Every minute should be enjoyed and savoured. I just saw that this morning and thought, that's what it's about. And that's what you were saying, Shireen. Be happy.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Well, thank you for that. I don't think I can add any more to that, because that pretty much sums up everything that we've been talking about. So, I know we're going to end now. So just to say thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you so much for your wisdom, you two.
And for yours too. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, guys, I think I just leave you, find a coping strategy that can help you to actually navigate with your daily activities and monitor everything that you do. And just do you. Just do whatever works for you. And for me, I just do whatever works for me. And sometimes people, they'll be like, Nonsa, do this. I'm be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Just walk your own path. And if you're working for the company and if you're not happy, just get another job. Or if you have your own business, if you're not happy with the business, just find out why you're not happy. And sometimes it could be simply healing. I was saying yesterday on the talk show and day before yesterday that I'm focusing on my healing. I've noticed people are clearing my debt. Honestly, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just healing my soul. But since I've gone through this journey, I've had people like clearing my debt. But now I'm looking for somebody to clear my business debt. I keep looking at it and saying, God, let it happen. Or give me just one client that can clear this debt. So this is what I'm doing because I've realized that anything like if I look at something and not crying about it, not complaining, and just look at it and say to myself, I love to solve this problem, but I'm not sure how, and then just leave it. He comes back with a solution. So I'm just waiting for a solution to clear my business loan. And I'll let you know, guys, how that works out in a month's time. just just do you burnout, guys. We're not competing with nobody. Of course, with a business, what you need to do is just look at your competitors, how good they are, what you can do to be different. And that's all you need to do. Some people just get wind up, think that they have to compete, and just do your best. My my pastor tells me that I got to do the work 1000%, not 100%. If I need to be different, if I want my clients to come back and not being lazy, and I need to be different, not to follow everybody else. So and God tells me that. So that's what I'm doing, guys, not burning myself out. Like when we finish now, today I'm relaxing. I've made a choice that that today is my relaxing day after Carol Anne's topic. And I'm going to answer the phone. I'm going to tell everyone I'm busy. I'll solve the problems tomorrow. I'm
The
going on
world can
strike.
wait.
Clients, I know my clients, sometimes they watch my videos. No hard feelings. Tomorrow, we work tomorrow. Today is Nobsa's day.
Yeah. Well done.
Live with grace, everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. If you're watching on Facebook, please follow us. We have two groups on Facebook, Bossy Talk Shows and the Unique Billionaire Mindset. And please do follow us. If you're following me on LinkedIn, please come to my Twitter, come to my Instagram, come to my Facebook. Follow me everywhere. And I'll do the same with you as well. God bless and